If you're struggling to prioritize your health, then this video is for you. I'm going to tell you exactly why time management is not your problem. So let me explain. I hear this all the time, right? For every excuse that I get about 10 more. But the most common excuses that I hear are, I'm too busy, man. I'm going to wait till things slow down. It's Q4. Things are really ramping up. I just don't have time. Or, I just don't have enough time to prioritize exercise and nutrition and do all these things. I got too much going on, right? And I'm sure just by hearing me say it out loud and you being the listener, you hear that and you say, yeah, that's a bullshit excuse. And it's true, right? It is a story. It's a story that we create that keeps us comfortable, essentially, right? And I can say that because I've seen so many of my clients disprove those stories over and over again. Most of my clients, in fact, all of my clients are busy as hell. I'd say most of them work anywhere from 10 to 16 hours a day, okay? My client, Jonathan, for example, he works in Silicon Valley. He's a coder. He works for a business. He's got 2 or 3 side hustles that he's working on. And on top of that, he has a full family that he has to show up for when he clocks out, right? When we first got started together, he thought time management was his biggest issue. And what I got him to realize is that wasn't the case. Even with his busy 16-hour days, it really came down to priority management. And that's why I don't believe in time management issue. If you're not doing something, if you're not prioritizing it, it's because that's it. It's not aligned with your goals and your values, and you're not prioritizing it. You're not making the time for it, okay? If you prioritize it, if you really value it, then you will make the time for it. Once John started realizing that, things really started to click. Fast forward several months later, he's lost about 40 pounds. And he's gotten busier. He started to manage more teams. He went from managing 2 teams to 4 teams. And it's Q4 now. So he's busier than ever, right? 40 pounds down, didn't get any less busy. So what does that say? That really paints the picture that it wasn't anything to do with, does he have enough time? Okay. Now, we had to really look at a few things, right? And I'm going to cover what those are in this video and give you some examples. But we had to make a process for him that made it hard to fail, right? So that he could align his highest values and his goals together and really start prioritizing what matters. So, something that I've said dozens of times in free consultations is, show me what you're prioritizing, show me what you're habituating each day, and I'll tell you exactly what your physical and your mental state look like. And it's so true, right? We can all make time, right? So if you're lacking consistency, and really if you're lacking consistent motivation, then that's something to look at as well, right? And I've made an entire video just on motivation, really diving into that subject. But it really paints the picture of priority management as well, because if you have a motivation issue, you have a priority management issue, and your goals and your priorities are not aligned. That's it. That's the secret to motivation, right? If you want to check out that video, though, I'll put a link in the description below. So let me tell you exactly how to solve your priority management issue and really level up on priority management, so that you can start prioritizing what matters, right? Your health, your relationships, your connection to yourself, your relationship to yourself, and your business, right? So in the book, The One Thing, the author talks about the 4 thieves of time. Now, I'd make a small iteration to that title and say the 4 thieves of priority management, because when I go over them, you'll see exactly why. And it's because the 4 thieves are really things that are stealing your attention towards your priorities. That's why you're not making the time for those priorities. So the first thief is the inability to say no. right? This shouldn't come to any surprise. Like, what are you saying yes to that you should really be saying no to? What are you tolerating that's, keeping you stuck? What are you allowing to happen? What are you allowing to perpetuate and habituate in every day that's really holding you back and not serving you towards your highest values and goals, right? Something that I do with every single client is I have them make a not to do list. And these are things that they vow never to do. I made my own not to do list years ago. And it was incredibly liberating, right? Because when I started saying no to those things and I put it down on paper, when I would catch myself in those moments where I would slip, I'd go back to that and I say, you know what? I made a strong declaration to no longer tolerate that. And that's where some of the biggest changes I've seen happen in my own life and with my clients is making strong declarations to say, I am no longer going to tolerate this thing that's been holding me back. It's usually what stings the most, but through that is the greatest transformation. And what I've realized from doing this work is, you want to take on new habits that are going to serve, right? New positive habits, because that creates a positive feedback loop. But a lot of the times, it's what we need to say no to and really stripping away the bullshit. And you can even apply this to identity shifting. It's not about becoming somebody else. It's becoming who you were before all the bullshit. Stripping away the crap. Okay, so inability to say no. What do you need to say no to? Number 2 is an unsupportive environment. This one is incredibly important, and recently I've started to shift my thinking, and I think it's more important than we even realize, right? So, it always falls back to the individual, right? You always have to take individual responsibility. However, if your environment is not supportive for your success, then you're always going to struggle. Right? And I've heard it described as death by 1,000 tiny cuts. So recently, we moved out here, and our power was off during the winter time, so we had to travel around staying with friends. We went and visited family during the holidays, and it's like the environment was a bit chaotic, right? For about a month, we were hopping around from house to house. We stayed at a hotel a few times, and admittedly, my productivity went way down, right? And it was like death by 1,000 tiny cuts, right? Because I didn't have my office set up exactly how I needed it to be incredibly efficient, right? I didn't have my desktop set up how I like it and my journal right there, and everything is like set up to succeed, right? It also eases up the decision-making process, which takes an incredible amount of energy, right? So, look, if your pantry is full of crap food, if your fridge is full of frankenfoods, if it's normal to have a donut on Sundays, and that's the norm, you're gonna struggle, and your environment is not supporting you. So perform an environmental audit, right? Take a look at the things that you can do without, and take a look at the things that you can invest in or put energy towards to make your environment more supportive. Number 3, the third thief of time, is poor health practices, daily habits, and behaviors, right? Think about it like this. About 5 to 10% of our thoughts are conscious. That means that about 90% of what we do on a day-to-day basis is completely mindless. I've said this before, you are your habits, you are your behaviors, you are your beliefs. You're not your stories, okay? You are your perceptions, you are your convictions, right? And the more that you repeat the process of entertaining a thought and allowing it to make you feel a certain way, the more it becomes a belief, the more it turns into a conviction. These are the things that are really stealing your time and your priority management, right? Your convictions about who you are, what you're capable of, and what you habituate each day, and that's just the way it is, and that's the way you are. Those are the biggest things that are robbing you of time. Okay? And to add to that, the more that you habituate poor habits and behaviors, the more you allow to entertain those thoughts, to influence your beliefs, the more dependent you become on the neurochemical soup that actually reinforces that pattern, right? You actually get addicted to the chemicals that your brain creates when you do those things and when you believe those things, right? You get addicted to the feeling. It sounds counterintuitive, and I can make a whole separate video on the science behind that. But if you want to check out more on that, go follow Andrew Huberman, right? He's an incredible neuroscientist that covers this in depth. And he's done a bunch of podcasts. So, you get to choose your thoughts. You get to choose which thoughts you entertain, right? The thoughts are going to keep coming. You don't choose your thoughts, but you do get to choose the thoughts you entertain and how you allow them to make you feel, right? This is going to lead to the habits and the behaviors and how you either take action or don't take action. Number 4 is the fear of chaos. This is a big one. And it's, in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons why so many people stay in their comfort zone, right? And I can make probably a 2-hour-long video just on this topic, but what I'm talking about here is the fear of the unknown, right? And this gets a little bit into our evolutionary programming and how the current society that we operate in is somewhat opposed to that programming. But basically, we have to transcend that basic programming, right? Most people are walking around in this constant state of fight or flight. It's this constant mild state of fight or flight. And got some snow falling. And what we need to do is, or what we usually do is we reach for various forms of sedation to turn that fear off, to turn that fight or flight response off, right? We watch Netflix, we binge eat, we do all these things that give us a dopamine hit or make us not have to face that, right? We just turn it off. So we have to overcome that, right? That's what's keeping you stuck in your comfort zone, is not being able to sit with those uncomfortable feelings, with that uncomfortable feeling of fear. And what's the easiest and quickest way to eliminate fear? It's to face it head on. Right? That's why Stoic philosophy is so popular, right? It's because they face their fears head on. They welcome the uncomfortable situations and feelings and thoughts with open arms, because that was an opportunity for growth. So you have to sit with that fear. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And through that process, through questioning, the power of inquiry, you'll find that you start to dismantle those fears so quickly, right? So you got to sit with this. This is the number one reason why people reach for distractions. So it's like, you think you have a management issue with time. It's like, okay, tell me how much TV you're watching, right? How many hours of TV are you watching in a day or in a week? How many hours of work in the day are you actually being efficient, right? Or are you just putting out fires, right? Anything that we do that's not an intention is a distraction. So I'll give you an example. For years, I started my day, with this massive intention to do the big things, right? And really tackle the big obstacles that were going to expand and move my business and my personal development forward, right? I say, here I go. Okay, I'm not going to get distracted. I'm not going to procrastinate. Let me just check some emails real quick. All right, let me check my social media channels. Let me see if anybody is interested in doing some work together. Let me see what my team is doing. Let me check on a Slack line real quick what everyone's up to, right? And I thought I was doing this really meaningful work, but really I was just putting out fires that didn't really exist, right? And I wasn't being efficient. So that's another thing, is, are you getting more with less when it comes to time? Are you doing the easy, urgent work at the expense of the hard, important work that really helps you expand and elevate in life and in career, right? Now, that's the 4 thieves of time. I want to talk a little bit more about distraction. Now, there's 2 things or triggers that lead to distraction. 5 to 10% of them are external. 5 to 10 are external. 90 are internal. Here's why. The internal triggers are uncomfortable, right? They're uncomfortable feelings, and this goes back to the fear thing. They're uncomfortable feelings or states that are largely subconscious or unconscious, and we spend a lot of time trying to escape from those uncomfortable feelings. We spend so much time trying to escape and turn those feelings off, right? Guilt and shame from not prioritizing your health and purposeful work or showing up for your family, fatigue, boredom, scarcity, anxiousness, that mild fight or flight. They're all feelings that we don't want to feel, so we look to escape from the discomfort. And we do that by turning to distractions to numb. So this is where most people fail. It's where most people mess up. And it's one of the biggest reasons why you can't turn off from work as well. It's one of the biggest reasons you can't start turning off and then turning on what matters, prioritizing what matters, your health, your quality time with family, your connection, right? Spirit. And most people think turning off means distracting themselves, and it's just not true, right? You don't actually turn off when you distract yourself through forms of sedation. And so we end up remaining in that constant mild flight or flight response. And our cortisol levels are just kind of like this. So we don't get these spikes and valleys like we should be with our cortisol. So to turn off, you need to prioritize purposeful work and what really matters. And what does matter? And this goes back to the book, The One Thing, right? They talk about what matters, and it's wealth, health, relationships, and spirit. The thing is, wealth is a rubber ball, whereas health, relationships, and spirit are all glass balls. If wealth falls, it's probably going to bounce back, right? You're going to figure something out. You can reinvent the wheel. The others, the glass balls, if they fall, it could be permanent damage, right? You could get nicks, you could get dings, or a ball could completely shatter, irreversible damage. So what does really matter? It's a good question to ask, right? And what's the cost of not prioritizing what matters? So, quick recap. Is it a time management issue or is it a priority management issue? You've got the 4 thieves of time or priority management. The inability to say no. The power of no. What are you tolerating that is holding you back? An unsupportive environment, right? You are your environment. You've heard it before. You are who you hang out with, but also your external environment. Is it set up to where it's hard to fail? Poor health practices, habits, daily behaviors. These are what you are. This is what makes up who you are, and it determines your results. Okay? And then the fear of chaos, right? The fear of the unknown. This is what's crippling you and keeping you stuck in your comfort zone. So you have to face it. Lastly, prioritize what matters. Don't get distracted, right? Don't reach for those distractions and prioritize what matters. That's going to free up more time for you, right? And what does matter? Is it a rubber or is it a glass ball? So here's the thing. This is the last thing I want to leave you with. Prioritizing you is the best gift that you have to offer anyone else around you. It's the best gift that you have to offer those who matter most. There's a reason why they tell you to put on your face mask when the plane's going down before your child's face mask, right? And the reason is that you're no use to anyone if you can't take care of yourself first. So it's actually selfish to not take care of yourself. We're only on this ball of mud for a second, right? You want to be here as long as you can, and you want to live a high quality of life and be the best version of you so that everyone else around you wins. So just want to leave you with that. I hope this video is valuable for you. Do me a favor, if you enjoyed this video, press the like button. That'll help me out so that most people see this. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And let me know, what's the one thing that you're going to take from this video and start implementing today? It doesn't help you to just watch this and move on to the next personal development video, right? It's like personal development masturbation. It's not helping, right? Do something with this. Write it down. Take action. Make a declaration to yourself. All right, guys, till next time, prioritize you. I'll see you in the next video.